All right. Hello, Arcs. I'm Anamana, and this is XingKazma. How you doing today, mate? Hope you're doing well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How about yourself, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Like I said, before we started recording, I'm running on like a few hours sleep because of daylight savings, but it's the usual. So you listen to Oracle Fleet. This is episode 14. This is a podcast for PSO2 news and information, specifically focusing on the global servers. Today we have ArtistDaura, who is an artist, you could tell by name, also specialized in PSO2 characters as well as some OCs. Thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thanks.
Good to hear.
It's good to be here.
Absolutely. We also have Shadgon here, a content creator on YouTube who also streams on Twitch. How are things today?
Pretty good. Been looking forward to this all week. Somehow managed not to tell anybody that I was doing this.
We actually don't have any process for announcing stuff. Like sometimes we'll announce it early. Sometimes it really depends on how close to the wire we are usually. I have to say this week Outriders launched, so I've been very behind. I feel like Dora's been whenever Dora asks about something, I'm like, oh, I need to do that, the show notes and stuff like that. So it's good. It's good to have people on top of that stuff. Okay, so thank you for joining us on the podcast. Appreciate it. Usually what we do is we go into guest question and answer straight away. We're also going to be talking about the storyline for New Genesis today, and just to preface that, yeah, we don't really have much story outside of just like a little setup of this is the planet and stuff like that, but we're going to be talking about what we'd like to see and stuff like that as we get into it. But what we're going to start with is, so I'm going to start with Shadgon. Where did you start with the Phantasy Star series?
Well, one of my buddies ended up buying Universe when we were in middle school, but I didn't really end up getting hands-on with the series until Portable 2, and I spent a lot of time on that in high school, a lot of weekends with my friends running through the multiplayer on that, and then not long after that, Online 2 came out in Japan, and from there, it's all history.
Yep, sounds good. So how long have you been playing in the Japanese servers? And has it been a consistent solid thing, or is more a global been more of a thing with that?
Well, for me, the JP servers were on and off. I was in the open beta for that, and I played it a bit at launch, but I didn't really have the rig to run it at the time and can't read Japanese, so it was a little rough. I'd come back every episode that came out and try out whatever the new class was and so on. But it wasn't until they announced that Global was coming that I really hardcore stuck with it and then switched to Global as soon as that was out. And I've been on there a couple times a week ever since.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty much the thing. And I think King can probably attest to this as well. You're either someone that just played Japan and just didn't care about it being in Japanese, or using special patches and stuff like that, or you just were you had this weird awkwardness where either you had something that prevented you from playing it, or it just didn't feel right playing a Japanese game that didn't really have a true English translation until it actually came out. And that I guess there's uncertainty that the means of which you're playing on a server that you shouldn't be playing could always change, and your progress could just be snuffed out overnight, right?
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Dora, what about you? When did you start with the Phantasy Star series?
So I started this Phantasy Star series just from PSO2 itself. Ironically enough, I was playing MapleStory 2 before it, and it closed just as PSO2 opened. So that was an interesting transition.
Yep, that sounds about
Perfect
right.
timing.
Yeah.
Wait, so MapleStory 2 it's not online anymore?
No.
Yeah, it closed down.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It was around for less than a year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really a short time it was running.
Yep.
Even the Japanese servers closed down as well. So the only one that's running now is the Korean servers.
Is Korea for that game? Is the Korean version popular?
It's kind of popular, but I'm not sure how well it's doing right now.
Yep. That's fair.
But there's a lot of global users who play the Korean version as well with an English patch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's what some people do for PSO2 as well, right? So.
Yeah.
All right, so Dora, what keeps you playing PSO2?
Honestly, the friends in the community. I think that plays a really important part, as well as I'd say the story of the game. I also really like, just the world, so like explorations, just looking at the world of Phantasy Star Online too.
Yep.
So the environments and things are really cool.
Favorite characters, top 3?
Now you've got me. Well, you already know the first one. The first one's like Kasra.
yeah.
I am sure that's no surprise. I think I've got to put Xeno up there as well as Kuna.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my top 3.
Yep. All right. While we're asking, King, top 3.
Yes. Oh, now we talking characters or waifus or husbandos?
Whichever.
How are we splitting this up? All right.
Whatever.
So just in general. All right. Risa, because I love the tsundere type. Excuse me, tsundere. And then I want to say Helga and Affin. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's pretty cool.
Fair. Shadgon.
Well, favorite overall character would have to be Persona, because I'm a sucker for the anti-hero.
That's cool.
I think my favorite overall villain would actually be Elmir, because coincidentally, a lot of my D&D characters end up with a similar personality type.
Yep.
And favorite waifu would have to be Kuna,
Kuna.
hands down.
I think like it's pretty obvious who my favorites are, but so Risa, just because big Scorpio energy, and then Phaleg because there's the I like the kind of like sassy kind of caring like mix up, and also I guess Huey. Huey's a single dad that's just trying his best. That's the energy I get from Huey. And
Huey's great.
Yeah. I feel like Huey's got the most, like all the male characters in PSO2 have their personality, and then Huey, they dialed it up to like 200.
Huey's like Phantasy Star All Might.
Yeah,
just has that energy the whole time.
Yep.
Pretty much.
All right, so what keeps you playing, Shadgon?
That one's easy. The combat.
Combat?
I've played a ton of MMOs over the years, and PSO's combat keeps coming back to me, especially Urgent Quests. I love getting into raids with big bosses and tons of mechanics that make you really have to think and plan your attacks out.
Mm.
It keeps me logging in long after I've done everything 100 times, because it's just I can't stop.
Yeah, that's fair. And what about you? What's been keeping you playing lately, King?
Honestly, at this point, I'm just boss running. The new limited quest is really cool because it kind of brings exactly what I wanted to PSO. Just nothing but bosses galore.
Yep.
And that's like one of the most exciting things to me about the game. And trying to speed run those bosses is also pretty fun, but I'm not really a good speed runner, so I just onga bunga, see if I can do it fast enough.
Yep. That's fair. I honestly I've been talking about this recently, and I think Outriders come. I'm gonna try not to talk about Outriders all this podcast, because that's gonna be the game that I'm gonna be playing on the side, so I don't burn out of PSO2. But I feel like I am dealing with a little bit of burnout with PSO2, and I really haven't logged in since the servers came online with the maintenance update. I have run once on the new limited quest. I need to run it some more. I really want to get into some Cradle of Darkness triggers, but the problem is that I don't want to waste time running those triggers until I've got the full event link boost to get that full drop rate and stuff. But from what I understand, people are saying that you need to have full inventory and stuff if you're going to run that, because it's basically you need a bigger backpack.
Yeah. Clear your inventory space. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's dropping Skydance support as well, isn't it?
I don't know. I didn't see anything on that. Skydance?
Or maybe it's Drawn to Darkness that might be, because Uber posted a picture of it and it's dropping the capsule.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yep. So yeah,
I didn't think as many people were going after that anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's on the unique weapon badge shop, but maybe there's a market for it. I don't know. And I mean, having it drop is a big saving, a discount.
I would imagine it's something that's maybe like multiple characters or different classes if you're trying to do different unit affixes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just a heads up for anyone watching. You may be of the mindset of back in episode 3, those urgent quests were not great because they were just running around killing enemies. But with Ultra Hard, it really makes things. They're actually difficult now as well, right? I haven't actually had time to step into them yet, but this is the first time I've had them on Ultra Hard. But have people been having much difficulty with them?
They would be, but the fact that Luster and Luster and Zondil is a thing makes it so much easier. You just kind of plow through enemies, and next thing you know, there's like 50 items in your box within the first horde.
Yep.
I think the hardest thing about that is trying to manage your inventory as you're going through the UQ, because other than that, I think at some point I ended up maxing out everything, and the rest of the items I got throughout the UQ just disappeared because they weren't going anywhere.
Oh, really? And isn't there like there's like a cap on how many things can show on the floor as well?
Not that I'm aware of.
I didn't know that.
I remember that being a thing with Advanced Quest. I don't know if that's been updated or not, but that's something maybe to keep mind of. I don't know how many items it is though. It could be like 100 or 200. All right, so let's keep moving. What content in PSO2 do people find playing the most or enjoying? Hang on, let me reread this because I've completely had the daylight savings shuffle. What content in PSO2 do you find yourself enjoying the most? And I'll start with Dora with this one.
Sure. Well, anything from like urgent quests, divides, quests in general. Anything I could run with friends. I also, personally, I like going into explorations and finding all the bosses. I'm sure a lot of people have seen my adventures with that, but yeah. Divide quests in particular are really nice.
Like having Xeno yeeted through forest into the boss room.
Yeah, with Kasra being yeeted by the haze drowl, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Really.
That clip was you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they got shared by PSO2's Twitter, right?
It did. That was like the huge, biggest surprise.
PSO2
I supposed to watch that like 10 times. That was hilarious.
I'm glad you liked it.
The Twitter account's run by some pretty good eggs. They're always paying attention to like everything that's going on Twitter and stuff. All right. So Shadgon, what about you? What keeps you finding the most enjoyment of PSO2? What kind of content?
Well, right now it's the trigger version of Mop Up Endless Nightmare. I know I just I put my first run up of that on YouTube recently, but I haven't beaten it yet. I haven't been able to beat that 20-minute timer, and I'm trying to find a group with the right means to do it.
Yep.
Because I don't know. It's one of those things I haven't beaten yet, and I feel like I need to. And that's one of those things that keeps me busy right now. Is I keep trying different affixes while we got the boost week going on and trying to see what I can get to work.
Yep. So because I myself haven't actually looked into the trigger just yet. They didn't post a lot of information on the website about it, but what's the details of the trigger? So it's the new mop-up quest, so it's randomized. I'm not too sure if the trigger is randomized or that's static, but basically going through old areas of PSO2, but with PSO1 music, and then the end and start being Pioneer 2. What's different?
Well, the trigger version is static, in that you'll always do forest, and then you'll do volcano, underground shafts, and then ruins.
Yep.
You get 4 people instead of 12. Unlike the regular version, the trigger version ends with a fight against Persona instead of Elder, and there's a 20-minute timer. You got 20 minutes to beat the whole thing.
Okay. And is that only ultra hard?
I believe it's only ultra hard. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've done anything under ultra hard.
Yep.
I'd love to see someone actually pull it off, though. We actually, my first run, we got where our timer ran out just as we teleported into Persona. Like the screen goes white to enter Persona's room, and we got back to Pioneer 2.
Damn. Do you still get loot?
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
okay.
It still counts as quest complete.
That's good.
I assume your drops are better if you actually finish the whole thing, and your rank probably depends on it.
Yep. And that's the thing is this kind of content, completing it, sure, eventually you'll get there, and eventually that'll be a thing where you can do that consistently. But half the fun is learning, like getting the process down for it and learning how to overcome it. So where's the celebration if you can't overcome something, right?
Exactly.
Right. Yep. What about you, King? What content are you enjoying the most at the moment?
Right now it's the mop up.
Mop up?
That's probably the best. Yeah, I tried to actually sit down and play through Masquerade. I cannot do 50 runs in one sitting. That is so boring. I think after about 10 runs, I'm just ready to take a nap. Jesus. But yeah, anyway, there's definitely the mop up quest, and again, that's just because boss rush after boss rush. And it makes it more interesting to me, especially playing with people. I tried to solo it a couple of times, almost made it, and at the very last second, I got hit stunned like 5 times, and I just wasted so much time. But it's really fun. Like, even to go into the 12-man one solo, let alone the 4-man one solo, it's really fun to get into. I do say, definitely give it, a couple of tries. You're never going to get it on your first try. It's a really long quest, but it's something that you definitely want to use as a way to get used to the in-game playstyle of PSO2.
Yep, that's fair. All right, so favorite moment for time of PSO2. So we'll ask Dora and Shadgon like in general for all of PSO2, but I'll start with King this time. But recently, what's your favorite moment recently?
Actually, this one just happened today. So we were playing through PSO2, and we actually got Sodom through the new Divide quest, 31 through 35. We got the solo Sodom run. It was me and a viewer who just happened to come through. He had a Patty Ulta account, which was great.
Yep.
And we had 10 seconds on the clock to get rid of Sodom, and we had just enough damage. And we were right at that S rank bar. And as I'm counting down, we're just trying to rush as fast as we can to get the last bit of damage through. We ended up getting him right at the 0 second.
Yep.
Right at the 0 second. And poof, there he goes. He didn't give us any Darkstone, so I was kind of upset, but he dropped some Origin Glare. That's all I needed. And that was just a huge clutch for the day.
Yep. That's good to hear.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. All right, so Shadgon, you're up.
For me, it was actually not quite that recent, but a few weeks ago, I actually started attempting ship infiltration solo when I found out there was a title for it.
Yep.
And I'd seen people do it, but every time I watch someone do it, they've always got like min-maxed fixes. All their gear seems perfect for it. It seems like it felt like that was going to be a requirement, but I figured at some point, screw it, let's just see how I do. And actually finishing it, not on S rank, but finishing it was that surprised me. I didn't realize I had the setup for it without optimized gear.
Yeah,
because I don't do a lot of fixing.
A lot of the time, people will act like you need absolute perfect stuff, but you ask any of the like hardcore players like Glint or Mil Randwell, they'll be able to do that stuff without having perfect fixes, like with pretty decent fixes. Obviously, if you can run it with perfect fixes, so if you've got the budget for perfect fixes, it's going to make it easier. But I mean, you're not like having a fixes and having the perfect weapons and perfect units isn't a trade-off for skill. Like, you still need to have skill to actually complete it, and that shows that you've got the skill to actually do that solo. It's like starting out as a plumber. You're not going to have all the expensive tools to be able to be a good top-tier plumber, but you're going to slowly work towards getting that stuff, and you're still doing your job all the way through to getting that good stuff, right?
Yeah, of course.
Look at it, yeah. But yeah. So, Dora, favorite moment PSO2 from start to finish. What was best?
Ooh, that's a really hard question because honestly, the whole experience is really nice. But if I did have to pick one, well, we do this thing where we meet on the like universal ship lobby.
Mm-hmm.
So either for challenge quests or PvP, battle arena, it's called. Yep. And we basically all just gather together, either as our usual characters or NPC characters. Because if you didn't know already, I have a lot of friends who play NPC characters, and we run around with them in game. Some of them actually turn out to be our mains, so that's fun.
Yep.
So it pretty much turns into like a crazy convention, just everyone chilling or doing fun poses or doing cool photo shoots.
Yep.
That's always fun.
That
we do it every
good.
few months or so. So
have you got like an in-game convention planned?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like every time we meet up, we'll
Like, have you got like an official, like, Kazrakon or something?
That's really funny.
ArtistCon.
That could be something like, 2 months' time, there's going to be on the Universal ship a cosplay convention,
Yeah, we could probably make it a bit more public if we wanted to, because generally we get people across from like ship 1, ship 2, ship 4, like everywhere, and we just find the time to meet in the Universal ship lobby for a few hours. It's pretty fun.
That'd be pretty cool. And do you like actually jump into like Battle Arena or anything like that? And yeah.
We face off against each other.
Because that'd be pretty cool. It's I mean, there are ways to kind of set teams for Battle Arena. It's just the stuff that you can't really do that. But I mean, if you were to do something like that, you could obviously have like, best and then like category for NPC like Kazra, Get 'em Halt or whatever. And then so you could have something like that, like variations where people are taking that character and maybe it's Get 'em Halt in his board shorts and stuff like that.
Trust me, they all wear like different costumes.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean, like
great.
in terms of convention, then you could have like a Battle Arena competition, and you could have a whole 8-hour thing where it's all that stuff, like all little events, and it's like a big thing. That'd be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, I used to work for conventions, so like.
Oh, did you really? That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the community is striving to get a 12 MPA like Luther, just all Luthers fighting off against each other, as I'm sure you've seen it on YouTube as well in JP, those kind of things.
Absolutely.
If you have 12 Luthers fighting each other, which one of them is the piece of Ark's trash?
Which one's the biggest loser?
Right.
Sorry, you go.
You're good.
Oh, good. All right. So recently, for me, best moment. What I've actually really noticed recently is whenever there's a maintenance coming, I'll stream it, and it'll literally just be me streaming the waiting room. And I felt really bad the other day because I streamed 2 hours waiting for the game to go live and then 10 minutes of the game live. So it technically wasn't a PSO2 stream, but those kind of those just having the community and chatting kind of thing has been one of my favorite things recently. Is maintenance waiting rooms have been, and like just episode update, and I guess New Genesis will be another thing, but waiting rooms and just chatting with the community has been really fun recently for me.
Yeah, those streams seem really chill and nice, especially when you're just waiting around and chatting it. Yeah,
and like there's a lot of other streamers that are doing it as well. Like I'm pretty sure Shadgon, King and also other people like Chrono and stuff like that also do it as well. So all right,
Instead of just chatting here or there.
Yeah.
This discussion pieces are really good to have because like recently we had a little discussion piece yesterday, and it was kind of talking about how, and it's something that we don't really like talk about too much, but the way that like how PSO is right now, like I had 2 Klaus units that actually deleted themselves.
Oh really?
Gone.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
so I'm back to using Trailblazers, and there is literally no one running Face of the Abyss because of the 2 new UQs.
Oh really?
So it's basically impossible for me to get new units, not unless I play on the UQs that they give per hour, and those only let me do it once, and then I only get like 9 Darkstones. So it's like a whole thing, and we were kind of talking about how that can really stunt the growth of players coming back. And I think like discussion topics like that are really good to have because it just helps give a better understanding to the community, especially for new people who come through, streams and videos and what they can experience coming into the game for the first time, So I was like, yeah, just get your Trailblazers, because unless you get like Face of the Abyss, it's kind of hard to get your Klaus units, not unless they give them out for free, which they might. But it's very helpful to have that conversation.
In terms of like units as well, and even for some weapons, especially once we get Fluxio dropping, like the other side of it is that Klaus isn't the only good stuff right now, right? There are some classes where you mix and match the units. Like one might be Klaus, and then you could have a Trailblazer. Like I don't know like exact specifics, but it's not always the absolute end game item that is the latest item is going to be the only one you should be equipping. And there's some classes that have weapons that there was one recently, like can't remember the name of it. It might have been a katana or something. was it like Carol Bethia or something, or it was like a woman's name, and then
Karen.
I don't know the name of it. But there was a recent weapon that people like were losing their mind about, waiting for the update that was going to drop. I don't know if it was with Mop Up Quest or something like that, or maybe with the
Was
Ultra.
it not the Odachi?
No, I know that there's still J Sword. That was one, but
Yeah, that I know Uber was happy about the J Sword, or was it Mark? It was either Uber or Mark.
mhm.
But yeah, no, you're right. They're not the end all be all. You know, it's just nice to have sometimes.
Yeah.
You can definitely mix and match a little bit, especially because, you know, like Riverlit Armor gives you some HP, and you got Trailblazer that gives you some PP, and Clouds gives you like a little bit of both, some attack, and you know, it helps.
Mhm.
But you know, it's just I think it's just the idea of wanting to get everything, like the collector's curse. You want
Yeah,
everything.
Definitely.
I also think that a lot of the content nowadays is geared towards group content. It's a little bit hard to progress if you're just doing solo, like when people aren't online.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
because even solo Risk Realm has given me trouble.
Yeah, I haven't run it, but when I had Stumpy and Kiram up, Stumpy ran Risk Realm, and I haven't touched again. So I've got the title, but I haven't actually stepped in there myself at all. Because like when a lot of the content's released recently, like I'll play the urgent quest, but Final Lament I played it 3 times, and I was like, I just really don't find this urgent quest fun. And then Risk Realm, I probably should run it, but I don't know, I just have some weird awkward block in my head that's just preventing me from, you know, when like, you know, you should do something, like you should iron your clothes, or you should go and do the dishes, but you don't. That's what Risk Realm is for me.
You're attacking me right now.
But like TPD, I did a whole lot of that. I've done Mop Up, but I probably will do more Mop Up. I'm not too sure when, but we'll see with that. So I've been thinking about it lately as well. The content we've got now compared to what we had when the game launched is like night and day. Like back then we were running I really like the urgent quest. Like I didn't mind the coast one where we're just running around whacking enemies, and also advanced quests, while I don't like them now and I wouldn't go back to them at the time, was really fun just to level up all my classes with people. And now it feels like you're just waiting in a lobby for an urgent quest to roll around, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It felt like there was more diversity back then, but yeah, after you run Cradle of Darkness or Drawn to Darkness UH, you kind of get spoiled with drops.
Yep.
And everything just seems like not really worth your time.
They need to make like a Drawn to Persona that just drops Void Aerobyte fragments. That'd be really good.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, so let's go into New Genesis Story. And I prefaced this before. We don't have any real story outside of... I'm just going to set the thing for everyone. So we've got arcs that are a thing. Think of them as like the space police, as they've always been. You've also got people called Meteorn that are dropping down from this sky like a meteor, and it's your character that's in the meteor. I don't know if there's going to be a thing when the game actually launches where you have you've got like a Goku scene where like your character's like naked, and then someone brings him in and gives him some clothes or something like that. I don't know what's going to happen. And then, so you've got dolls, which are another thing, which are a seed-like entity. Maybe they're robots, maybe they are something that people have made, or maybe they're something from outer space, we're not too sure. And then Halfa's the world, which has, it's biological, and it's kind of mixed with like mechanical aspects as well. So, where do we want to start? Like, we'll start with the questions we've got. So that's the setup. That's all the information we have right now. We don't have any plot points. We don't know if Dark Force is going to be a thing. We don't know if potentially Mother Brain could be a thing. But do we think that New Genesis is going to continue from PSO2's ending in episode 6? And we'll start with Dora.
Okay, so about this, I think it might continue. Like, there's been a few speculations here and there that there may have been a bit of foreshadowing by the end of episode 6, like de-weaponization of photon energy.
Yep.
So that could possibly be what the dolls are, since they look so much different to, Full Spawn and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but anything really goes at this point. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
We have such little information that they're
Mhm.
just not giving us any details at the moment.
Yep. What about you, Shadgun?
It would make sense that they try to continue the plot in some way, considering that it's the same universe, multiverse. I don't know. When they added interdimensional travel, they threw the whole thing out the window.
Yeah.
But the fact that they decided to set it a millennium ahead of time is likely so that they don't have to explain what a lot of characters we've grown with at this point are doing. With the exception of maybe Cass, I don't think any other race we know of in the series so far will live to 1,000 years. So it's probably so that they can just tell a new story that doesn't have to be attached to PSO2. We might see references here and there, as common when you've got a 30-year legacy to draw from.
Yep.
But other than a nod to the first game here and there for the veterans, I don't really think it's going to tie in too much.
Yep. Yep. Well, what about you, King? What do you think in terms of connection between PSO2 and NGS Story?
I think they're going to give it the Xenoverse 2 treatment, whereas though you kind of exist within the same universe, you exist within the same story, but a whole new character is going to come through, and that character is basically going to become the successor of the pre-existing character. In Light, I don't know. I hope so. Xenoverse did this really cool thing where your old character from the first Xenoverse, they took that save data, and then that character makes a reappearance in the cutscenes of the second Xenoverse. Hopefully, if they give it that sort of treatment, we get to see our old characters kind of make a return within the cutscenes of PSO2. That's just me. I thought it was kind of unique. I wish to see more of that within games that have like legacy stories. But I mean, whatever it is, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested in the story this time, considering how detailed and great the open world looks.
Yep.
So whatever happens, happens.
Definitely.
They actually kind of did that with Idola. If you play the mobile game, their second episode has a new protagonist, and all the main characters from the first one do show up, but they're more like side characters at this point.
Interesting.
So they've done the same kind of concept, if I'm understanding you.
Yep. I think the only thing, like, and with everyone saying their piece at the moment in regards to what they think is going to happen, I think the biggest uncertainty is the player character, because if that character is like, if it's 1,000 years in the future, everyone's died. If our character is one-to-one, our character, is it a clone? Is it a descendant? We're not too sure just yet. But if it is our character one-to-one, like it's literally like Anamana, and he's just come, literally stepped into a block changer and a meteor's come down, he's crashed down. I mean, every other story character could technically do the same as well, right?
I suppose.
And it could even be with Omega or Earth, us going to Holfa, and technically it's 1,000 years in the future, but it's also us. I mean, time travel is a huge thing in PSO2, right?
Yeah.
With the protagonist.
Yeah.
There's also cryo sleep. That could be a factor as well. But 1,000 years is a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, how many years were there between episode 3 and 4?
Just
2
around
years.
2.
2 years, okay, yeah. So that was just a nap, cryo nap. So, in terms of 1,000 years in the future, say that there is a thing where we've got old school story characters from PSO2 coming back. Would you prefer to actually have them shoehorn in the old characters just for the sake of people being familiar with them, or would you rather them just cut it and be like, here's some new characters you need to grow in love with? We'll start with King.
Okay.
I'd rather them say here's some new characters you just need to grow in love with.
Yeah.
Although the old characters were really fun, seeing some of the core characters return back would be cool, like Zeno or Risa, or Matoi, excuse me. But having characters like Helga return would seem kind of pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're just trying to make a little DLC and we're getting a Scion class and just like, oh, Helga's back. All right, cool. Yeah, that means we're getting Phantom next month, But other than that, I would love to see what they do with the new world, the new characters. I don't know who inhabits this world other than the new breed of characters. What are they, Meteorans?
Mm-hmm. Meaty
that pronounce
orange.
that right?
A meaty orange.
Meaty orange. Yes.
There we go.
So hopefully we do see some new, because I'm not gonna lie, all of the characters were great in PSO2, but they weren't perfect.
Mm. I mean,
so this is,
especially with the male characters, right?
I mean,
let's be
male
real.
characters exist?
PSO2's story is completely held up by all the female characters.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I kind of
No
forget
doubt.
male characters exist sometimes. But this is a clean slate for them. This is a clean slate for them to finally say, okay, we're going to invest, because now it is a open world game, meaning no matter how hard we want to, we cannot avoid story on this one. So let's invest in the story and make it so interesting that we can align it with the subquests, the weeklies, the dailies, and keep people interested in the story of the game. Because I think that's something that really works out well for Final Fantasy 14, is that they keep people invested with the story because it aligns with everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go up next with Shadgon. What do you think in terms of old or new characters?
I'm not opposed to old characters making a return, so long as it makes sense. For instance, we have characters like Maria and Regius, who constantly talk about how they're on their way out or at their end of the road and so on. So for them to show up again 1,000 years later would make no sense, because they already expect to die soon.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have characters like Harriet, who is more or less a goddess at this point. I don't know if she'd have any reason to be on Halpha, but she could probably live long enough to. Xiao probably could too, being a... Is he also a planet like Xion was?
Yes.
I know he's his own mothership and so on. Okay, so then it would make sense that he could still be there. But it goes hand in hand with what we mentioned earlier, where most of the characters are more or less mortal and should have mortal lifespans. So it wouldn't make sense for them to be there outside of becoming meaty oranges.
Yeah. It just makes me think of like the impossible steak, but it's the other way around. It's like the impossible orange. And it's just like you have an orange and like you peel it and there's literally just Wagyu beef or something like that.
Oh.
All right, so Dora, old or new?
Okay, so pretty much the same as Shadgun here. Like, I could see maybe older characters returning, maybe for events and stuff, but I'm not sure about being core story unless it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so obviously characters with a bit more immortality could return, and it probably makes sense. But yet, depending whether this is actually 1,000 years in the future through time travel, or if 1,000 years have actually passed for the old characters, then it really depends on that.
Absolutely.
I'd be really excited for a brand new cast as well, because it'd be fun to see like what kind of characters appear and stuff.
Yep. I'm gonna, and this isn't we've all had the opportunity, but I think both. I think that have a new cast is the thing that should be a thing. Like, we learn about these characters, but then maybe if there was a means of there are the old characters in the world, but maybe like maybe they're Meteorn and their cryopod failed and we have to go and rescue them all around the planet, or maybe like it's been 1,000 years and they're all like Obi-Wan hidden in a cave just keeping to themselves or something like that. It could be stuff like that, or maybe I mean, there could be a lot of other things like Xenoblade Chronicles X. The humans came to a planet that was technically like a weird thing that was pulling in, like it was a weird dimensional rift. I can't remember how it was, but basically like it was this purgatory. What if Halpha's purgatory, and what if like we're all there, and I don't know. There's so many ways that it could go of the story, but I think that you could have both old and new, but I would want them to have new characters as a focus. They've had too many chances with old characters, and 6 episodes, mate, it's time to move on, I think. All right.
I actually do have an idea.
Yeah.
Can I spit for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So, cats are robots, in layman's terms.
Yeah.
Robots adapt. In a new world, say if we're in the same world, or even in this world, over the years, they have to adapt, meaning they would have to take parts. Meaning they would have to take parts from the dolls to be able to survive and or fight back the enemy. what if we got new cast characters that were based off of the design of dolls?
That sounds awfully like working towards an antagonist that is gonna be the new Dark Falls.
Yes, please.
If you played Phantasy Star Universe, the whole thing was that there was a caste uprising on Param, and their leader was a clone of like basically a series of caste, and almost like a collective, kind of like Ultron, but they eventually merge with Seed and become Dark Falls. So that's where I'm like, that sounds like we've seen that happen before, and it didn't go too well. Yeah. So I've got another question I've just added onto our show notes. So how do we think story is going to be applied in the game? And when I say this is, do we think that we're going to be how do I put this? Do we think it's going to be from a quest counter? We do a story. And I mean, this is very broad and vague and open kind of thing, but do we think that it's going to be maybe applied like very linear like that, and we just follow the story, it just teleports us around kind of thing? Or do we think that with it being open world, you'll go to a character, get a task, and then it'd be like run out to, central area, and we talk to someone, a scene takes place, and then it's like, this is done, we go back to town, and then maybe, oh no, we need to go up to the mountains. And, do we think that kind of thing is going to happen? So do we think it's going to be either linear, or do we think it's going to be kind of dynamic, making us run around the world to get those story points? Sorry, and we'll go first with Dora.
Yeah. I think it is probably going to be more dynamic. I think it's good if they make use of the open world rather than just going from a quest counter. I mean, you've got such beautiful scenery and depth in the world. Why not make use of it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is that similar to the old Matterboard system in any way? Because I never actually got to play that, but
wasn't
kind of.
You go. I haven't had much of it, but all I know was there was prerequisites for doing either enemy spawns or doing certain things, and then was it that would unlock the story quest that you could go do?
Kind of. It was like you'd get a board with like these set of spheres on them, and each one had something that was like an objective, like kill this enemy to get a certain drop, or like a pillar that would initiate a cutscene would show up in a certain expedition area. Doing those objectives would open more spheres on the board, and there were certain ones that if you completed would trigger a story mission. So kind of, I think it's the best way they could have, or I think it was the best way they thought of they could do a story mode in a game that's not open world without eventually doing what we know as the story now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
So what do you think in terms of dynamic or static, Shadgon? Do you think it's going to go the old school route, or do you think it's going to go more go and find these people out in the world and help them?
Well, with such an emphasis for New Genesis to have a lot to do in its massive world, or supposedly massive, what we've seen so far that they've created, I would be very surprised for them to continue doing the story the way they have.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they would probably have... I'd like to see them kind of do what places like Guild Wars or FF14 have done.
Yep.
Where there's a main story quest line you can follow, go to this person and accept their quest, which will go to this area and so on, and eventually have like instance encounters that could include your cutscenes that push the story forward.
Yep.
But I'd also like to see it integrated a bit more into the core experience.
Mm-hmm.
And by that I mean, like, you can play all of PSO2 as it is right now and never touch the story save for the tutorial. A lot of people still haven't played the story. And I feel like that's a shame, because that's one of the big parts about RPGs is having a plot that makes everything make sense. So making it seem, or giving people more incentive to play through the game story, especially if you can make it part of their everyday goings on,
yep.
I think would help the game a lot more.
Absolutely. I think as well, like when you're saying that about Guild Wars and stuff, and that's the way that works is that obviously there's a lot of towns in those games, in Final Fantasy 14 and Guild Wars, and Guild Wars specifically was you were basically following a path around the world to get to the end. And I guess Final Fantasy 14 is kind of the same way, but it's a little bit more open. I guess it depends on how big the map is and if there are other outposts and if it isn't just Central City, right? That'd be the main thing with that regard. Yeah. But I think going towards an open, more dynamic world, if we do get, I think it'd be incredible if we have to unlock the world through story, because that forces people to play the story and understand what's going on, and also it's another way to kind of gate people getting too far too quickly and being under-leveled for certain areas, and maybe making, like, there's a 32-player area and it's full of people that are level 10 in a level 20 area kind of thing. We don't want that, right? So potentially that could be a thing. But what do you think, King? Do you think it's going to be linear, like old school quest counter story missions, or do we think it's going to be... How would you think open world would work for it?
I'm hoping along the lines of it just being kind of just story progress. Like, we lock out certain areas for certain levels, and depending on how we progress through the story, we get to other areas. One, because although I did like being able to run around, or maybe it may just be, idea. Maybe it may just be a world tier thing. So depending on how you level up or how you go through the story, the whole open world map levels up with you. Yeah, and that makes it so low level players can run around and do whatever they want, but they can't really interrupt higher level players from being in the same area, because each area is set off into an instance.
Yep.
So if you have 8 people out of the 100,000 people who are level 20, and then you have another 8 people who are level 10, the computer algorithm just kind of splits that and puts them all into their own room. So that way the level 20 people can get level 20 bosses, Gigamax, or did I say Gigamax? Or the level 10. Yeah, I'm sorry, my brain. Between like Pokemon and everything, I'm or the level 10 players can keep their level 10 friends, be able to play with that. Now, if you're partied up with someone, I guess we can just leave that neutral. That would be hard to explain, but I do think the story should be something that kind of has you explore the world in separate segments. So we go through different parts as we go through the story, but still leave that open world available, like Genshin.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's the thing I was thinking about? How are we going to have difficulties? Because since PSO1, normal, hard, very hard. Ultimate was a difficulty, but that's now become like super hard and extremely hard and ultra hard, and now I'm just waiting for them to go like hard or something like that. I wonder how that's going to work, and world tiers could be a way to implement that. Like, would there be like normal world tier, hard world tier? I don't know. But I feel like what they would need to do with it is it depends on how big the population for the game is going to be, but I could see that working if it's scaled. So if I had a party, and I think this is probably what you're going to go into, King, was if all 4 of us were in a party, Dora was level 50, Shadgon was level 10, King was just starting the game, and I was like level 80 or something like that. And we're all on we're pretty much all on different world tiers. Would the game just put that into a baseline so that we're all seeing enemies at our level, the same enemies, but we're getting different rewards and experience and stuff like that based on it? I think that could work pretty well, but I guess that remains to be seen on how that is going to happen. But
that would be interesting.
And also, it would keep the popular. The problem is that if we did have it where we get to ultra hard difficulty, and new players are starting and they're just seeing this dead world because everyone's in ultra hard, that's something that we don't need for PSO2, because people want to. One of the biggest experiences of playing online games is stepping outside in the field and you see all these new players, and there's this one like high level player that's standing there, I'm level 100. You want to be like me one day, kind of thing. There's always going to be like that stuff, and I hope that is a thing still. So, who do we think? And I'm not too sure of everyone's understanding of the Phantasy Star universe. No pun. But basically, you've got Dark Falls, which is actually Dark Force. That's an entity. It's been an entity, like an evil entity, through all the Phantasy Star games, and also Phantasy Star Universe and Phantasy Star Online 2. But Phantasy Star Online 2 is very different in terms of it's basically like a company instead of it's like Dark Falls starts his own business and he's got all these people and the employees. Do we think it's going to be that, or the other thing was Mother Brain, which was in Phantasy Star 2 and it's been in Phantasy Star Universe Ambition of the Illuminus. But basically it was in Phantasy Star 2 it was the desert planet in Phantasy Star 2 Motavia got terraformed by Mother Brain to make it habitable. And then that thing went nuts. And in Phantasy Star Universe, basically Mother Brain was... I can't remember the story, but basically it was the Cast Planet stuff, and that thing went nuts as well. But there could be other things as well. Do we think it's going to be Dark Falls again? Is there any hints at that? Mother Brain, it could also be the Seed, which was from Phantasy Star Universe, basically jelly-like enemies like we're seeing with the dolls. Do we think it's going to be something familiar, or do we think... Are there any hints it could be something brand new? And we'll start with King.
Honestly, I have no answer on this one. My brain is going to jump through so many hoops.
Or what would you like? Like, what do you think it's probably going to be, and what would you like to see?
I would like to see them make more use of the villains. I would like to see more depth. I would like to see more of their story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, even with the dolls, like, I would love to see where they come from, their history and whatnot. I think the main antagonists might not even be the same race as the dolls.
Yeah.
So it may be someone who just gained a sort of control of the dolls.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no idea what that could possibly be. It may be something completely different. My brain might be telling me it's just another form of Dark Falls. Might just be another form of... or maybe Persona just came back and decided I'm just going to be a dictator. I don't know. But I honestly don't have an answer for this.
Yep.
Ugh.
And the other thing as well with the dolls is we don't know if they're manufactured either, right? So they might not even be a race. They may just be a construct. Like golems, basically. But Dora...
Or they could be bioorganic. Sorry.
Yeah, true. That's a fair point. Dora, what do you think?
Yeah, same here. I don't really have an answer too, but obviously someone's probably like leading the whole group of dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I really don't know. Maybe some kind of puppeteer that's like, you know, controlling the dolls or something. But they really do look different from Spawn. Like,
they do.
The overall design is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Shadgon?
Well, actually, my community and I talked about this concept recently in a stream, so I actually do have an answer for this, and I do think we're going to see another Dark Falls. Never mind that he is, in one capacity or another, around for every game in the series, even when he's not the main villain. We had discussed the possibility of other members of the Dark Falls collective, like we saw in PSO2 existing, that we haven't seen yet. Because of the connection between PSO2 and Idola, where there's evidence to suggest they exist in the same universe in separate dimensions, kind of like Earth. And Idola has its own Dark Falls theater. So we had this theory, supposedly, what if another version of Dark Falls that we hadn't seen during Oracle was there? Maybe they were dormant for a while, and once they awaken, since TPD is gone and more false spawn can't be created, maybe the dolls are a substitute for the false spawn, and a Dark Falls is still behind the scenes somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. The other thing of Dark Falls is Dark Falls has a very unique thing, a very unique, how do I put it, like plot point around his existence or their existence, right? And that is every 1,000 years. And this is set in 1,000 years time.
Yeah,
right?
that's like...
Yeah, but...
lines up, exactly.
I think, like, the point is, and I think this is a good demonstration for anyone that might be wanting to know if there's story and stuff like that, is that we don't know. At the moment, there's so much we don't know right now. I don't know if maybe within the month or so lead up to New Genesis, they'll start putting out like story trailers, or maybe they'll have a stream where they go over the story points and the protagonists and stuff. But you know what I'd actually like to see, and I think this formula works really well. We had it in Destiny, we've had it in Metal Gear Solid, and that is it's almost like a Wild West thing as well, like a 6 enemies that we need to go through, like protagonists working towards a big bad guy. I think that's really good, and especially if we're having a big open world, if maybe they're running different bases. We had this, with Final Fantasy 15 as well. Basically, I think that'd be good to kind of bunny hop and have something to keep working towards and taking out. I don't know how it worked. That's the thing is, we've seen there's an exploded base next to Central City, and that could potentially be something tied to the dolls, and maybe it was our constructs. Maybe there was someone that either was running it that went AWOL, or maybe there was sabotage or something like that from someone as well. But the point is that we don't really have a lot of answers. We have some vague things that we could think of, like with the 1,000 years, I think is the biggest thing that points to what it could be. But at the moment, it just feels like we've got a populated world of enemies, and that's it, right?
Yeah, how did the Rappies get here after 1,000 years?
Yeah. I mean...
Well, those things are...
Yeah,
Rappies are time travelers.
Yeah.
The genuine Rappies, not the ones you see on Navaris, they have the power to transcend space and time, so they could show up anywhere.
Yeah, I saw that on Datapod. I was just wondering, like...
I'm just glad that we don't have the scuffed looking Rappies from Phantasy Star Universe that look like they've been doing too many illicit photons.
Yep.
Great way of putting it.
All right. So, if anyone has any questions in chat, we'll be moving close to wrapping up recently. But I guess while we are waiting for a few questions, topic on the spot, when do we think New Genesis is, like, when would we like to see it? When do we think we're going to see New Genesis dropping? We're going to start with King.
I want to say summer.
Summer is
decent.
Summer when? Summer's different for two people here.
I want to say like summer, August.
August?
August.
Yeah, because it gives them enough time to fix any issues or go back through and, make changes to certain things. Plus, it leaves enough windows so we don't have to experience any setbacks. Because even given the beta that we had just now, there were a lot of times where they had to shut the beta down. They gave us more time, but they came back and they fixed a lot of things. And there was some under the table stuff that they fixed regardless of the issues that we posted. Because at that point, when I came back into the game, I couldn't tell you the first hour that I was able to play in ultra quality. But then when we came back within like the last day of, the New Genesis beta, I was able to play in ultra quality.
Yeah.
So they were definitely doing some things under the table. I feel like if they what's the word that I'm looking for? If they mess with the game a little bit more, because that's just my dumb layman's terms, then they would be able to make it so people with lower specs can play more and still have that better experience.
Mm-hmm. What about you,
do you
Dora?
think August for... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask the question as well, but...
Yeah, no problem. So do you think August for the beta or the actual release?
The actual release. Now, for the beta, that can be next week if they wanted to. They can put out a beta anytime. As long as they get that data they need, I'm all good.
Yep. That's the thing is, like, right, is I've been thinking about this recently, and they would have given us a registration for beta if things were ready to go. But the fact is that they've just come off closed beta 2. They probably do need to tweak a few things. It's not a fact of people getting in to play it. It's a fact of them needing to test things. But what do you think the date, what month do you think, Dora, would be appropriate?
Maybe June? I'm not really sure because, like, we're coming into April now, then it's May.
Yeah.
Maybe a month or two should be enough for them to release beta, but maybe a little bit after that for the actual release.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd like to release it when it's more ironed out and refined.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Shadgon?
Between the two of them, they kind of nailed what I was thinking. I'm hoping for like a May beta, and then maybe a month or two later, maybe July, maybe August if something they find is like really game breaking. needs work, but the only evidence of them having even a window for it I've heard so far is I know that there were rumors about a spring release. I know that was mentioned a while ago, but nothing was ever confirmed. And I believe they said during one of the prologue things something about it releasing in time for PSO2's next major update, so to speak. I think it sounded like they were implying something about, doesn't PSO2 usually get something major in the fall in JP? Isn't that usually when they release like a new episode or
Not too sure.
or I don't know. It seemed like they were implying something about the fall or something about that
yeah.
time frame, but it's all hearsay, I think, at this point.
Yeah. I think all right, so May or late April, early May closed beta. I think June open beta. June or July open beta. And I say June or July, I think June is going to be if they need to have an open beta and then pull it down and tweak some stuff and then put it up. But July, if they're ready to go, they have an open beta that rolls straight into release. And that full release would be maybe August, September. I don't know, that's what I think. We do have a question from the audience. Favorite type of Rappy? We'll go with King first. Favorite type of Rappy?
Ooh.
Dark Rappy.
Dark Emperor Rappy?
Yes. It is the no, just like the Dark Rappy. The black Rappy with the evil eyes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's the only one that actually looks like it has a personality other than being a Rappy. It just loves violence.
Yeah. All right, Dora. Favorite Rappy?
It's a cross between the Love Rappy or the Drago Rappy. I really like the New Year's Rappy. It was quite cute.
Yeah.
Dragons.
Shadgon?
I was gonna have to say definitely the Dragon Rappy.
Yeah.
Those who have followed my channel for even a little while can tell pretty quickly I have a thing for dragons. So that was when I saw that pop up, that was a no-brainer. I needed to have one. I wish we could have.
Mhm.
Yeah, they didn't release the suits, did they?
Yep.
No, they didn't.
No.
Not even a mag or anything.
I think my favorite will be Phantasy Star Online 1, Episode 4, the Sand Rappies with the drill nose. I think those are my favorites. Those ones are really cool.
Oh, they're cute.
Yeah. So they were just like a orange and white Rappy with literally like a drill, like a drill for the nose is basically the thing. All right. So we're at the end now. I think we're gonna wrap up here. So thank you everyone for stopping by. I actually need to bring up my script. All right. Where can we find Dora online?
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter as ArtistDaura. I have a personal or art account. That'll be at ArtistDaura. I also have a PSO2 account where I just post PSO2 content. That's Dora PSO2. If you don't want to see all that kind of timeline, cluttered Twitter feed, you can also find me on Instagram under the same name. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And Shadgon, where can people tune into you?
Well, you can find me on Twitch under twitch.tv/Shadgon. I'm also on YouTube under the same name, and I try to upload as often as my work schedule allows. And you can usually find me on Twitter every day, saying something.
And King, we don't usually say where we're from, but where can people find King?
You can find me on Twitch, where I stream a bountiful amount of RPGs at twitch.tv/XingKazma, and same for YouTube, XingKazma.
Yep. And you can find me everywhere as Anamana AU. So, all right, you can find the podcast on all major platforms. I recommend Spotify myself because I feel it's just like an all-in-one thing. It's pretty good. And also live stream archives do appear on our YouTube channel. Yeah, youtube.com/oraclefleet. So, thank you again for making time to chat with us today. It has been wonderful. I am Anamana, and this is XingKazma, and we'll catch you next week. We do have a little means of sending the show out, which we'd like you to be a part of. Do you want to take it away, King?
Yee. So, at the end of every stream, we say, until next time, and may your guiding light shine.
And we'll count it down. Until next time, and may your guiding light shine. All right. 3, 2, 1. Until next time.
Until next time,
and may your guiding light shine. Thanks, everyone.
Yay!